Good evening, I'm Danny McCue of Anton Community Newspapers, and this is Insight Nassau, a monthly program focusing on the issues and people of Nassau County. Joining me on our show this time is Alhaj Ghazi Khankan, Communications and Interfaith Director for the Islamic Center of Long Island in Westbury. This past month, Muslims around the world have observed Ramadan, the most holy celebration of their calendar year, and we're going to discuss Ramadan, the Islamic faith, and the ever-growing Islamic population on Long Island with our guest, Ghazi Khankan. Ghazi, welcome.
Thank you, Dan.
Now, before we get into some of the real specifics of Islam and Muslim teachings and Ramadan, can you tell us a little bit about the Islamic Center, which is located in Westbury? First of all, how many mosques are there in Long Island?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In Long Island, there are 12 Islamic centers or Islamic mosques. The Islamic Center at Westbury is the first one to be built from ground up, as you can see in this picture.
Okay. I should say, it's for our viewers, it's located on Brush Hollow Road.
835 Brush Hollow Road.
South of Westbury Music Fair. So if they pass Westbury Music Fair, or they're going to the music fair from the village of Westbury or Point South, it is a very prominent piece of the local landscape.
Yes, it's a beautiful building, white with a green dome and with a crescent on the top of it, and you cannot miss it. It has been in the media for quite a few times, in the Anton newspapers.
Right.
The construction began in 1991, but the Islamic organization, or the Islamic Center of Long Island itself as an association, has been in existence for many, many more years before. We used to rent space in church groups and schools and so on. Finally, it was decided we should buy that piece of property. It was bought, and it is the first masjid. Masjid is a place of worship, or mosque in English, where it was built from ground up, and so it is the first real mosque or masjid built on Long Island.
So it's indicative of the population growing? I assume that basically it was a space concern. It was the reason why you decided to build a mosque.
Yes, because when we began, we really began with on the property itself with a small brown house that was on the property, still there.
Right.
And we used that as a school and as a mosque to pray for our children. And then eventually we started the construction, and you can see here a picture of the construction as it began.
Right. It might be a little hard to see, but it started out with a piece of property and a small, basically something the size of a house.
Yes.
And that structure still exists. And when originally you had services on those grounds.
Yes. We used to have a big tent.
Right.
Because there was no space for the people. We began really in this small house.
Right.
In the small house. The first Friday that we worshipped there was only 3 families.
Okay.
And then now we have about 500, 600 people who come and do their regular prayer at the new masjid or mosque, right, which was built right here.
Now, the center itself, it now has, you said, about 500 members, 600 members. Where do they live? Where do people come from? It's different from, say, a synagogue where the members live rather closely.
Eventually, if you go to Muslim countries, right, you will see a mosque or a masjid in every corner. So almost the community goes to that particular mosque. Right. But in Long Island, since the mosques are scarce, people from further away come. So we have about 30, 40 families now living in Westbury itself and around it, and the rest come from the neighborhoods of Long Island.
Define some terms here. Islam, or al-Islam.
Good way. Al-Islam is really made up of 2 words. The first one is to mean peace. That's when Muslims meet, they say, Assalamu alaikum, right, peace be with you. And Al-Islam is derived from peace and also submission. Submission to the will of God. And therefore, when you put these 2 words together, you have the philosophical basis of Islam, which is to believe and to submit to the will of God and to live at peace with God's creation. To us, God is one. Like all other religions. God is indeed one in Islam, and therefore Islam is the peaceful submission to the will of God and to live at peace with God's creation, humanity, the environment, and everything else in the universe.
Okay, Allah.
Allah is the Arabic name for God. In French, it's Dieu. In Spanish, Dios. In German, Gott. In Hebrew, Elohim. In Arabic, it is Allah. It is a unique name. It has no masculine, no feminine, no plural. It is the creator of the whole universe and everything in it.
Okay. Now, the Quran. Now, typically in the media, we spell it wrong. So how do you spell Quran?
Al-Quran is the exact name. As for Islam, we say Al-Islam, the submission to the will of God. Al-Quran is the recitation. It's A-L-Q-U-R apostrophe A-A-N, Al-Quran. And the Al-Quran is the holy book for Islam.
Right.
Now, Islam, by the way, is not a new religion. Islam is the continuation and the amalgamation of all that was taught by God through the previous prophets.
Now, this is something that's